Hello, it's Collette from the Sacred Rose Temple, and I'm here to give you this week's energy forecast. Well, it's been a very challenging time in the sense of lots of things coming up that feels like they're being dug up from many different areas, really, like karmic, ancestral, old patterns that have been resurfacing. And I gave a lesson last week on bone medicine, and it came up yesterday when I was at a yoga workshop. The knowing of the bones, the deep bone knowing, the deep intuitions, the cellular information that lives within our bones that is awakened when we do movement or sacred practice around bone medicine. And what that really is at the moment, I feel in our collective unconscious, is some deep ancestral patterns that are coming up to be felt, some deep ancestral patterns that we are trying to ignore basically because they're quite painful. And ancestral patterns that we, as we stand in spirituality and on our soul path, are kind of calling us to integrate, to heal, to put to bed, to stop. And these have been coming up in our current lives of things that we've stashed away, avoided. We kind of know that we don't really want to go there, or we're completely unaware we don't want to go there, and we're justifying ourselves. So sometimes we've got a story about ourselves, and this comes up a lot in the spiritual language. I've heard spiritual people say it. Well, I'm going to not repress that, or this is an attachment, or whatever that language is, and they use that to justify not wanting to go to an inherent pattern in them that's actually pointing at healing and not at the same behavior that they've been involved in. And this is key. I've been doing my own work on this and feeling into those places we've kind of justified with spiritual language. Now, the key thing here is I really want to say this in the bone medicine. When we work with bone medicine as a very ancient feminine kind of practice, when we work at, as a more modern practice in trying to find out the areas of shadow within our own psyche, we can't do this alone, because what we do, we enter into a rhetoric, we enter into a conversation with the ego, and the ego is constantly trying to protect us. The ego is constantly trying to not show the very things that would make you feel bad about yourself, or in fact, the reverse, doing exactly that. So this is really difficult ground for us to work on a spiritual path, because it does involve you listening to another about your pattern. If you have a tendency to tell everybody about their pattern and you don't listen to what they're showing you about your pattern, then this is an area that you need to work on. And justifying certain behaviors, I want you to pick out some stories you might have been telling people recently. Well, this is because I'm this, and this is because I've been trying to feel this. Maybe not. Maybe that's not the case at all. And you're just caught up in this justification, in this shadow behavior, and you're trying to justify it as that. Has someone called you out on that? Have they said, well, actually, it looks like this to me? Or a professional indeed that is willing to look at that without any emotional charge. And it's super important this week that the crux of whatever you've been going through, you get some shadow work done on it. Otherwise, you will repeat it or you will release it. And it really is about that. It's about restricted thinking about what you believe in yourself rather than what the truth is, because this is going to keep us spinning and spinning around in patterns that are not making us feel individuated, not feeling ourselves, not feeling whole. They're patterns that have been born out of wounding, and so therefore need to be addressed and released. So yeah, I've seen a lot of that, and in my own personal space too, just this whole kind of justification going on, justifying, denying, explaining are all parts of the shadow rather than asking yourself deeper questions, coming into the I don't know rather than the I know, because that is a clear sign of ego when you think you know. So yeah, moving on from that, feeling into what we're coming into this week, the energy is building up for the Venus in Taurus. And when Venus enters Taurus, we've got some really beautiful energies. So obviously, Venus is love, beauty, values, sensuality, making things beautiful. Like that's all of the energy of that planet. And then Taurus is really about comfort and strength. And when these two collide, it really is a return to the body, uh, reconnecting with like I just mentioned, the bone medicine, the bone, the deep inner knowing what it feels like to breathe into the body and create space, what it feels like to move the fascia and the ligaments and the muscles and take the big sigh into void spaces. This is what we're looking at here. And really returning to your body. That is a particular reference to those of you who are constantly in your mind, thinking, analyze. I'm very analytical also. And with the place that I'm in after 30 years of doing this work now, I started thinking, wow, I started to do like that yogic inquiry when I was 19, and just that time and space of working somatically and spiritually and emotionally. And then the last decade has been me working with the intellect and into the psychology, because I wanted to cover all areas to make sure I was integrated. And now coming back to the body, it feels. I did a really beautiful workshop yesterday and just been feeling this call to come back into more deeper somatic work again, which has been my major trainings and work over the many years that I've been doing this. So I think that's kind of what is going on astrologically in the collective anyway with this Venus in Taurus. There's just this ask, reconnect to your body, come into your senses, what you sense, smell, taste, touch. What do you feel? What happens when you move, when you take a big inhalation into the heart? What comes up there, instead of the whole kind of story being in the head. From this deep place in the body, we get a really deep understanding of our personal values, our worth, our feelings, our emotions, the soul space that leads us onto a soul path. That is really important to make sure that we're creating space in order to feel those soul parts. And usually they're buried under a whole lot of emotional repression. So this would be a good time to do some movement, some dance, some yoga, some SE, some somatic experiencing, just something that gets you giving your body some time and some attention. And this will really help you kind of listen more deeply to yourself. So I really, really strongly recommend that. This is also going to collide the Venus in Taurus with Mercury in Cancer, which is on about June the 8th, I think. And this is all about emotional communication and introspection. Really try to make space to have emotional conversations with people. You know, find that time and that space where you make an intention of speaking to somebody about more emotional parts of you. Can you express the emotions that are going on in you? Are you able to language your emotion? Are you able to release it? Are you able to feel them? I sent someone a quote last week with regards to the breath and feeling. And yeah, Jung said that many people, and I've experienced this with my years of yoga, is that many people don't want to breathe deeply because that will take them into the body deeply. That will make them feel deeply. And so we keep shallow in breath. We stay in the head where we can imagine and make it all up. instead of dropping deep into the body where the answers are, where the breath is deep and slow, where it takes us into more introspection, emotional communication, and indeed heartfelt communication. So try to make space for that this week. You will be trying to find ways in which to be transparent, to really share how you feel, watching where you get defensive, watching where you try to over explain, watching where you project on people. Remember, if you're saying to somebody, oh, you're distancing yourself, or oh, you're being needy, then check that in on yourself, because the likelihood is you're projecting that as well. And can you be humble enough to take an investigative journey into the self as to what you're placing on others? This is about digging up the old stuff and actually replacing old ideas about yourself with new ideas about yourself. So let go of the old stories that I need to do this and I am this, but rather look beyond that. What do I not know about myself? What if what I've been telling myself is a lie and a way to hide? And how do I investigate that and do the opposite of what I've been doing? So it's all very interesting, much more soul work available to us. And for me, for sure, an opportunity to dig in and dig deeper into some ancestral insights that I have been getting. I've met a new energy this week, and that's really brought a lot up for me with regards to an ancestral piece on my masculine side, and how this is bringing up lots and lots of ancestral wounding within the lineage and what I do not really recognize as being held within my own animus. So I'm grateful to this new energy that came in, brand new, never ever experienced this kind of situation or story before. It really has brought up a lot of emotion and a deep knowing. And I'm going to be sharing some poetry about that soon. Maybe today I'll get to record something that came through from the dreamscape and from the encounter. So I'm wishing you luck this week with the whole working through this, coming into your bones, into your intuition, into your body, getting rid of the old stories, noticing what they are, questioning yourself, maybe getting yourself spot checked by somebody, and being in that truthful, honest, beautiful communication. If you've got spiritual friends, really try and practice that. This is an ideal opportunity. So wishing you lots of love as always. I will speak to you all soon. Bye for now.